Hello and welcome back to the Welsh Premiership podcast and episode 29 today. Today we're joined by someone that made the switch from Llandovery to Cardiff this season and enjoyed a pretty successful start to the season, winning 2 out of 3 games so far. Jack Maynard. So Jack, how are you? How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks guys. Thanks for inviting me onto the pod. Really happy with how the start of the season's gone from a Cardiff point of view. All new to me as well, obviously signing across from Llandovery, but no, to be fair, really enjoyed pre-season and it's nice to kind of get back into it after everything that's gone on.
Yeah, and as Hayden's mentioned, you've won 2 from 3 at the start of this season now, wins against RGC and Ebbw and a loss to Newport. What do you make of the 3 opening games?
Yeah, it was strange actually, because I think we've had 18 months off, obviously due to COVID, it's quite odd really, because usually when you finish a season you have a little 3 or 4 months off and then you kind of crack back into it. Not too much has changed with teams, but I think having that 18 months off, I think some boys may have kind of walked away from clubs or made the switch like I did, or kind of progressed on elsewhere really. So I think to be fair to RGC, I think they're quite a young squad this year. I think I spoke to a couple of the boys before the game and they seem to have taken a bit of a hit this year. And they're kind of relying on some younger boys. So I think it'll vary in terms of, whether teams have been able to keep hold of some boys or recruit boys during the lockdown period. And yes, it's just a strange period really. It's a difficult one really when you're looking at previewing teams, obviously being 3 weeks in now, there's a bit of footage to be looked at, but I think in those earlier weeks, first hit out, there wasn't too much to kind of look towards really, because obviously that's such a long break since the last fixture.
And obviously in the season before lockdown, Cardiff were top of the league. They're still the current Welsh Cup holders. What are the club's ambitions for this season?
I think without kind of coming across arrogant or anything like that, I think you've got to look at the kind of squad you've got, and we've got a very experienced squad, I think, with a good blend of youngsters as well, and I think the club's kind of adapted to utilising those Blues players, whether they're academy boys, senior boys, with a good mix of RFC players as well. So I think in terms of what we're looking to achieve this year, I think we want to be punchy in the league and the cup competition really, and I think we would like to kind of to go well in the 2 competitions really. I think we've got a strong enough squad to be able to compete. Obviously things like injuries and things like that will have a say on whether we can achieve those 2 competitions and how far we go in them. But yeah, I think just looking at the players, I mean, we got some ex-regional players, in the likes of Morgan Allen and Tom Harborfield, and then some of the boys that have been dropping down from the Blues have only kind of added to the squad. And yeah, some really experienced RFC players in there as well. So yeah, fingers crossed, we can go well and hopefully push for the league and the cup competition, hopefully.
Yeah, and how did the move to Cardiff come about then?
Well, basically, I've obviously been up in Llandovery the last 5 years, and to be fair, forever thankful to Euros Evans for giving me that opportunity. Obviously, knew Euros from college days, so we had kind of a good relationship since then. But from a Cardiff point of view, I mean, I knew Steve Law from a brief spell playing for Bedwas, and yeah, I think Steve, knowing that I lived in Cardiff for the last 5 years as well, and travelled to Llandovery. Some people kind of question why I'd done that, and it probably shows really the type of club Llandovery is really, to stay loyal to them for so long. But I think it got to a point with myself, living in Cardiff, working in Cardiff, and also I I really wanted to kind of, kick on and, look to kind of win some silverware really. And Cardiff kind of came knocking. Steve got in touch, probably Christmas time of whenever it was before the pandemic. And we had a discussion, and I was kind of on board with what Steve had in mind, and vice versa really. And it was a tough move really, obviously leaving Llandovery, because like I said, great club, great bunch of boys, competitive as well. And it was probably a little bit of kind of logistically, I mean, all the traveling and what have you, and then a little bit of, just kind of wanted a fresh start as well. And Cardiff, there's probably no better team to have a nice fresh start with, and basically, try and push on and hopefully win some trophies really.
Obviously, you mentioned you played under Steve briefly at Bedwas, and obviously Aros, another well thought of coach. How do they sort of the two compare?
Probably slightly different really. I think the two coaches really have kind of a bit of an aura about them really. I mean, when you're in their company during meetings and what have you, they've kind of got a bit of a presence really, in terms of whatever they're going to say, you want to be listening in, because it's going to be constructive, or it's I think with Steve, when I was at Bedwas really, it was just kind of the mindset really of kind of utilizing the squad as best possible. I think at Bedwas we had a kind of a very structured game plan in how we wanted to win games, and I think we done that well. And I think being at Cardiff now with Steve, nothing much has changed really. I mean, he knows exactly what he wants, and I think he does it as efficiently as possible by utilizing what he's got in the squad really. I think very similar to Aros really. I think Aros probably not the best person to ask, but in terms of set piece, there's probably no better coach out there from what the boys say. Just two very, very good coaches, I think. Probably Aros doesn't say too much, but like I said, when he does talk, you kind of listen in, and it's going to be constructive, and just two very good coaches, I think. Great experience as well with the both of them.
Yeah, and how does the environment at Cardiff compare to what the environment was like with Llandovery?
Very different, I'd say. I think kind of Cardiff being the big, club really in Wales, the history and the link with the Blues and everything, is probably, I wouldn't say more professional, but in terms of everything that comes with it, boys dropping in from the Blues, there's probably 2 or 3 more coaches involved, whether it's set piece, defense, attack, there's a lot more people involved. I think with Llandovery is probably a bit more relaxed in terms of training and things like that, but at the same time it's very much everyone knows the goal at hand, and I think when you kind of step, the classic saying, once you step over the whitewash, everyone knows their role, and everyone can flick the switch early and get things done really. And I think had this kind of discussion with a lot of players really. I think the difference is with kind of the clubs such as Carmarthen and Quins, Llandovery, and what have you, that kind of more of a club environment, whereas with the likes of Llanelli, Cardiff, Newport, obviously with the support from the Blues and the RFC and the academies and things like that, they just operate that a little bit differently. So they do vary slightly, but never to say, everyone has the same goal in mind, and it's just how they kind of operate that would differ really.
And in recent years now, we've seen quite a few players from the Welsh Premiership move over to England, playing the Championship to play professional rugby. Is that something that has interested you, and have you had any offers in the past?
I think, in terms of playing over in England. I think it's something that's I've always kind of thought about, maybe should I have done, could I have done, or what have you, and kind of, yeah, I guess offers have been there in the past, and I'm not. It's a difficult one really, because I think the English Premiership is quite strange in a sense that I think that the top end of the table tends to be, the likes of Ealing, Jersey, I think Newcastle, going off last season, quite punchy in terms of could probably compete in the English Premiership. But then the further down that table you go, I think in terms of competition, there's probably not much between them and Welsh Premiership. So I think, I think being at Cardiff now, it's a club that I'm really happy with at the moment. And like I said, the last 5 years I had with Llandovery, I wouldn't swap that for anything. And I'm not sure, maybe in years to come, I might look back and think, oh, maybe, should I have, given that a go or what have you. But it's a difficult one to say, really. Who knows, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned briefly how you came through the academy with the Scarlets. I think you had a season in the Blues Academy as well, didn't you? What was it like being involved in the professional team setups?
Yeah, it was. So yeah, I guess started off under 16s. I think we kind of started going into the academy structure and what have you, and it's quite strange really, because you probably get blinded a little bit, because you just think, this is great, kind of, next 10, 15 years are sorted really. Like when you kind of walk in the hallways as a 16-year-old, and you see the likes of Jonathan Davis walking on the corridor, and you're thinking, God, like, this, happy days kind of thing, But I think, yeah, great experience with the Scarlets. Really enjoyed that as a youngster, living the dream really. I mean, go to college in the day, and then you go and get your free gym membership in the academy and do all the skills training, and the best of the best in terms of coaches in the regions, and it was great, to be fair. I think probably 18 then I went up with the Blues, and again very similar really in terms of the skills and the gym training. It was great. I was in uni then, so obviously a little bit older. Probably one regret was, I remember in freshers, the best night out was the Wednesday night, Revs Wednesdays. But I don't know if kind of Rodri Williams was the conditioner at the time, so you'll have to ask him. But we always had an 8 a.m. slot for gym on a Thursday, so I think I could only take advantage once or twice when I kind of backed myself just to kind of have a good night and get in a little bit hungover. But yeah, it was good, to be fair. I mean, the academy setup's evolved now, I think, with the colleges, and I think youth rugby now, I think when I was in the academy, probably the downside was missing out on youth rugby, which was unfortunate really, because I mean, a lot of people do say best times of your lives really, youth rugby, and I probably didn't get to engage with it as fully as I would have liked. Was fortunate actually to be involved in the Welsh Cup when we won that with Command Athletic, so that was great. And to be fair, I think from that squad, we had some boys that actually weren't involved in the academies at the time, likes of Ryan Lyas, Will Boyd, Josh Adams, Jaden Sebastian, and those boys weren't really involved in academies at that time. So it just shows how it's not the be all and end all, especially from a young age. So it's good to see those boys reaping the rewards now. So yeah, it's I think it's evolved now though, where kind of youngsters do get a chance to play a bit of youth rugby, college rugby, and not kind of miss out on too much,
Did you find it hard then? Obviously, you mentioned when you're a 16-year-old walking around seeing the first team players, and then when you I don't know if there was a specific point when you realized you weren't gonna like progress on to the first team like on a regular basis then. Did you find it hard dropping out of the academy?
Yeah, so I guess so it was weird really, because from Scarlet's point of view, I went to Blue, so I guess that was fine because it was kind of moving just to another region or what have you. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was difficult really. I suppose when I was at Blues Academy, it was very much a case of, if you made 20s, you kind of get a new contract or what have you. And it was a weird one really, because I probably wasn't playing much semi-pro rugby at the time. I was kind of featuring in the 23, but not really getting many starts and what have you. So I probably had a knock-on effect then in terms of selection with the, in the 20s and things like that. But like I said, it was great to be involved in senior rugby alone at that age, really. So, I really did enjoy that side of things. But yeah, I think transitioning out of the academy then, it was, yeah, I think at the time, probably, a little bit gutted, and probably think at that time I was, be all and end all really. But I think after that season then, just to be able to go to a club like Llandovery and play, 5 years under great coaching staff, great group of boys, and, just get regular game time really. And yeah, I mean, I think from playing and being on the field really comes kind of opportunities. So yeah, best thing that happened really was probably to come out of the academy. Maybe wasn't quite ready for it at that point, take a step back, play as much game time as possible. And yeah, to be fair, when we were at Llandovery, being able to be involved in that Welsh Cup competition and win that 2015, I think it was, or 16, 17 maybe, I'm not sure actually. Memory's not great, but yeah, being able to be involved in games like that, just, you wouldn't go back and swap it for anything really. So yeah.
Yeah, and you had the honour of representing Wales on the 7th stage. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was good, to be fair. It was a great all-inclusive holiday, to be fair. No, it was good, to be fair. Wasn't really featuring when I was at the Scarlets in terms of, the competitive games with them. And I think at the time with Llandovery, we were kind of out of the cup competition, and we were kind of not really in a position to push for the league or what have you. So yeah, the opportunity came about really to go in the sevens and get involved. Managed to get on the Las Vegas and then the Vancouver competition. So yeah, that was unbelievable.
The best ones then.
Yeah,
That's the one you want to get picked for, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So that was good. And I done that with a good group of boys as well. Yeah, I was gutted actually, because it was, the first leg was Vegas and the second leg was Vancouver. So obviously you go out in the second leg, but Vancouver was good, to be fair, but it would have been nice to have gone out in Las Vegas. But no, that was great experience to be involved in the sevens. It makes you realize kind of how fit those boys are as well, because yeah, some of the sessions we had were just grueling really. And just, yeah, the whole sevens opportunity was just really, really good. And just made me realize how fit those boys are. And yeah, just great experience. And yeah, it would have been nice to have had the second leg in Vegas, I guess.
And as someone who's played in the Anglo-Welsh Cup, British and Irish Cup for the Scarlets, how does that sort of rugby compare to the Premiership? How big is the gulf?
I think Premiership is probably undermined slightly, because I do think, there's some great fixtures in the competition. For example, we're playing Pontypridd on Friday, and, you just know that's going to be a massive game, just purely off the standard of the two teams. But the little added bit extra of kind of the rivalries you come up against sometimes, and you do get a little 20% extra, whether it's a ball carry or a kick out goal or what have you. And yeah, I think in terms of, kind of those B&I competitions, with the A teams, I think probably the biggest difference is, you're playing in a team where you're kind of thrown together a little bit, and you're constantly learning on the job, and maybe haven't got time to put things right or what have you. Whereas I think being in the Premiership and being in a settled squad, you've really got the best chance to kind of make things right during the week. You've got a whole year to kind of work on, set plays or going back to older plays or looking at new stuff, reviewing fixtures, and it just does help a massive amount, really. I think in terms of the gulf between semi-pro and kind of pro is, I think Richard Brooks mentioned it when he was on the pod. I mean, you can't really compare the two because obviously the quality of the regions in terms of the players, they don't compare really. I mean, I think it's just a case of, at a semi-pro level, you've got 12 teams. I think it's even better now that they've kind of taken some teams out of the Premiership and condensed it slightly. But you've got 12 teams who are very evenly matched, and anyone can beat anyone in the competition, which kind of, I guess, for the spectators is probably a little bit better, really. But in terms of the gulf between the regions, yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between performance. I mean, yeah, some of the guys playing in the regions are just different level, really. But I do also think there's some very good Welsh Premiership players that can easily make the step up to the region. So I do think it is a great platform for Welsh rugby.
And who are some of the best players you've played with and against in the Premiership?
Well, we had great news not so long ago when Dave Lockyer retired. That was quite nice because he's been coming down the channel for a few years and still can't work out how to tackle that bloke. But yeah, what a player to what a player for Pontypridd really the last few years. He's probably been the main man in the Welsh Premiership for years now, really. So he'd probably have to be up there in terms of players played against in the Welsh Prem. And then, yeah, probably players I've played with. I think there was probably 2 seasons with Llandovery where we used to rock up on a Tuesday and review games from the Saturday. And yeah, you used to get to a point where we used to just be watching Stuart Worrell's best clips all the time because he was just carving up every weekend with it, whether it was jackals or big shots in the channels or what have you. So he was an unbelievable player to play with. And yeah, he'd quite often make a lot of my tackles off the back of a line out as well, which was quite handy. But I think Lee Rees at 9, he was a wild one to play with, but what a player as well. He just kind of had that X factor really where he could turn nothing into something really. So yeah, probably too many to name, but those 2 spring to mind from a Llandovery point of view, definitely.
Yeah, and do you have a standout Premiership moment or a game you were involved in?
I think the game that springs to mind for me probably would just be that Welsh Cup final. I think the best thing about that winning that cup was we kind of through the semis, the quarters, we beat kind of we didn't really have an easy run in, so it was really rewarding then to beat Carmarthen Quins, and obviously a big rivalry game as well in the final. So I think that game was great to get the win over them, and lift the trophy at the end because we worked hard that season and probably showed really because I think we were in with a shout for the league as well that year, but we put so much into that cup win the week before. I think boys were kind of hanging really the following week in terms of pushing for the league. So probably boys drank a little bit too much a few days later as well. But I think that Welsh Cup win would have been the standout for me, I think.
And then, what's your favourite ground to play in the Prem?
Favourite ground? To be fair, I think it's quite nice playing on the Arms Park. That's it's a nice one. Boots don't get dirty there, so that's quite
Very different to playing at Llandovery, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit different. We played on Rodney Parade actually a few weeks ago, and the pitch was almost too nice. Actually, the stewards wouldn't even leave us warm up on the field, which was quite frustrating. So you almost would rather play on a lesser field, when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, no, Llandovery, nice pitch. But yeah, I probably have to say I quite enjoy going on a Sardis Road purely for the kind of atmosphere and everything that comes with it. That's quite a good fixture to play in.
Minus Dav Lockyer running at you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and to finish, we got a teammates quiz for you. So to start with, who's the worst dressed teammate you've had?
Worst dressed, Lee Reese.
What does he wear?
Flared jeans, brown shoes, and he puts too much gel in, and it looks like a skid mark on the top of his head. So 100% Lee Reese.
And who's the best drinker you've seen?
To be fair, I'd probably say Lawrence Reynolds. I remember we had a bus back from Cardiff once, and I was quite young at the time, and I was just watching him just polishing cans of Strongbow, just pouring it down his neck. So I'd probably say Lawrence Reynolds, but yeah, many good drinkers back over the years.
And who's your favourite changing room DJ?
Favourite changing room DJ would have to be Clear Green. He's quite good on the mixers, I'd say.
And without revealing too much, who's the biggest liability you've seen on a night out?
Jack Jones. 100%. I've seen him do some dull stuff on a night out. I'm sure you'll get him on the pod at some point, and he can reveal what happened in, I think it was King's Arms in Llandovery. He'll tell you all about it.
And if you were stuck on a desert island, who's the teammate you'd most want to be with and the one you'd least like to be with?
I'd probably say get on well with Ethan Lloyd, scrum half at Cardiff. He seems a good guy, so I'd probably have a nice chill out with him. I would least likely, I think Morgan Allen. He's just a big hanging bloke, really. You know, he's just he chats a lot about his golf and stuff like that. He reckons he's a good golfer, but can read between the lines. But yeah, I'd probably say Morgan Allen on that one.
All right, that's all for this episode. Thanks for coming on, Jack.
Cheers, guys.
Best of luck for the weekend, and thank you all for watching. See you soon.